Anime Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an action-adventure anime called Spirit Chronicles. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. While riding on a bus, a young man recalls the promise he made to his childhood friend, promising her that even if he dies, he'll protect her. In a wicked turn of events, the bus gets involved in an accident and it is unclear whether there are survivors. When the young man wakes up, he finds himself at the kingdom of Beltrum in the body of a little boy. His memories are still hazy. He knows that his name is Ryo. Or is it Amakawa Haruto? His memories as Amakawa Haruto are getting mixed up with his memories of his current life. Ryo is baffled, asking himself whether his fever has made him go crazy. Suddenly, the door opens and in comes 3 grown men. One of them tells him that he's really a stubborn brat. They brought food with them, but they don't give any to the starving Ryo. Instead, he's sent out to go wash since he stinks, and according to the men, the smell makes the food taste bad. Outside, he picks some fruit, or are those vegetables? Either way, he uses them to fill his empty stomach, and while doing so, he tries to get a hold of Amakawa Haruto's memories. Japanese, 20 years old, university student, died in a traffic accident. Ryo doesn't know how he knows these. He doesn't even know what a traffic accident is. He sets this aside for now and focuses on who he believes he is. He's Ryo, and he lives in the slums so he can avenge his mother. Ryo recalls that he used to ask his mom why his and his parents' hair was black. His mom replied that it was because they came from a far-off place called Yagumo and everyone there had black hair. His mom promised to take him there when he gets bigger so he could meet his grandparents. But that promise is nothing but empty words now as his mother was killed by an unknown man. After washing, he is approached by a woman and some young girls. The woman rudely asks him whether he has seen a girl with light purple hair. One of the girls named Celia Claire politely asks him the same question, and Ryo answers that he hasn't. Celia hints that they will be going to the slums to look for the missing girl, but Ryo says that it's better not to since the slums isn't a place a lady dressed as nice as her should go. The rude woman, Vanessa, says they should change clothes and just come back later. But before that, she asks Celia to do a search of the entire area using magic, surprising Ryo. During her search, she incidentally finds that Ryo is overflowing with a large quantity of power and that he has the potential needed to use magic. Before they leave, Celia pays him in greater silver coins for the information. Ryo goes back to the house he's staying in. There, an unknown man attacks him with a blade, but the pouch of silver coins around his neck saves him. Just as the man's about to attack him again, an ethereal woman bathed in bright light appears before him. She calls him Haruto and announces that she will teach him how to use his magic. Tutorial time, folks! The woman instructs him to use the light coming out from his body to increase his physical abilities and strengthen his body. Ryo does this, and he beats the man by combining his magic along with his knowledge from his past life. With his assailant rendered unconscious, he notices a moving sack and in it is a purple-haired girl. She must be the one Celia's looking for. The girl thanks him for his help and asks him to take her to the castle, but when she sees one of the dead bodies inside the house, she faints. Ryo carries her on his back and is on the way to the castle when he stumbles upon Celia and her group again. A girl named Princess Christina repeatedly accuses him of kidnapping her, but Vanessa calms her down and asks Ryo to come with them to the castle so he can explain what happened. Though he refuses at first, Vanessa's insistence wears him down and he agrees. Back at Ryo's home, night guards arrive at the crime scene and find the kidnapper. He's still alive as Ryo chose not to end his life. A shady-looking fellow from the crowd of onlookers seems to have recognized him and crushes a crystal he's holding. And when he destroyed the crystal, the man dies in time with it. While the police are clueless about his death, the shady fellow leaves the scene. At the castle, Ryo is being interrogated by the vice captain of the Knights of the Royal Guard, Charles Arbor. With both of his hands locked up and being suspended midair, Ryo is being treated as a guilty man. Charles demands him to admit that he participated in the kidnapping of the second princess, and when Ryo pleads his innocence, he hits him with a wooden paddle. Meanwhile, the kidnapped Princess Flora finally wakes up from her slumber. While the princess was sleeping comfortably, the kid who saved her is suffering at the hands of the people who serve her. Vanessa explains to her what happened, and upon learning that they're trying to determine if Ryo's testimony is true, she asks that he be summoned to her room. As for Ryo, the poor boy has been beaten so much that his face is starting to swell. Charles is still demanding that he cough up whatever he knows about the kidnappers. But what can he say when he literally doesn't know anything at all? Fortunately, Vanessa and Celia soon arrive at the interrogation room. They're shocked to discover the knight's inhumane treatment of Ryo, but Charles insists that he's just conducting a lawful interview. Vanessa stresses that she told her men that the investigation should be handled courteously, but Charles maintains that Ryo's likely involved in the princess's kidnapping. At this point, this bozo's just running his mouth to cover up his incompetence. Vanessa promptly informs him that Princess Flora owes Ryo her life, and with that, the boy's torture finally comes to an end. Celia heals him as soon as he is let down, and he wakes up in a room inside the castle. She apologizes for letting him go through something terrible, and when asked if she healed him, she says that she did, and that she's learning magic at the Beltrum Royal Academy. The king wants to express his gratitude to Ryo in person, so he asks Celia to teach him manners befitting of someone who will have an audience with the king. When Ryo is presented to His Royal Highness, the boy's appearance and manners have greatly improved. He no longer has his long, unruly hair and his old, tattered clothes. And what's more is that Ryo now knows how to act when in front of royalty, how to speak in a dignified manner. Bit by bit, life is changing for little Ryo. Since Ryo had done so well to save his daughter, the king proclaims that he will have Ryo attend the Royal Academy's primary school as a scholarship student. After some time, Celia offers to teach the illiterate Ryo how to read and write. He just needs to come to her research lab after school. She also adds that many of the students at the academy are from noble families, but Ryo insists that he knows his place. With that, the two enter the classroom and Celia introduces him to the whole class. Seeing him has the students talking amongst themselves about how he's from the slums and that the king approved his entrance to the Royal Academy. The boy introduces himself and tells everyone up front that it is by the king's grace that he is there. Though he's lacking in many ways, he hopes that they will still look favorably upon him. And in response to his earnest introduction, a student named Alphonse comments that he can at least speak as well as a servant, earning a laugh from the other students. Still, Ryo goes to sit down as instructed, and he notices that Princess Christina is in the same class, giving him a dirty look. While Celia's teaching maths, Alphonse continues to mock him, saying that he probably can't read. Ryo just pays him no mind. After class, Ryo goes to Celia's lab as she had instructed. An enraged Celia opens the door, loudly asking if he can't read the sign on the door. He can't. It's clear that she's completely forgotten that she offered to tutor him. But when Ryo reminds her, she quickly regains her composure and welcomes him inside her very messy lab. There are more books on the floor than there are on the shelf. While Celia tries to tell him that she's usually more organized, he observes that there are a lot of difficult-looking books there. Celia says that she's only 12 and she skipped several grades and graduated from high school at her very young age. First things first, she asks him to solve some math problems, which Ryo does quickly and correctly. Celia's surprised at his ability to calculate mentally, especially since Princess Christina's the only one who can do that. To Ryo, however, it makes sense that he can do these math problems since Haruto was a university student. This isn't the only time his experiences as Haruto came in handy. One day, he's made to spar against his swordsmanship teacher since no one wants to partner with him. Since Haruto dabbled in Japanese swordsmanship in his lifetime, Ryo applies what he knew from his previous life and attacks his teacher. The other students stop what they're doing to observe the duel, and they're all unfamiliar with Ryo's stance since it's a Japanese one. All in all, Ryo's really lucky that Haruto was well-rounded. Imagine if his past life was a scrub. Impressed, Ryo's teacher says that he has the makings of a knight, but Ryo answers that he has no interest in joining the knights. Hearing this leaves everyone stunned. Why wouldn't he want to join their prestigious ranks? Ryo just focuses on studying, learning from Celia, and taking his exams to the best of his ability. One day, while Ryo's traversing the school, he remembers Ayase Miharu, Haruto's childhood friend. When his parents divorced, the two of them were separated. He saw her again in high school, and that was it. He never saw her again. It's like she erased herself from his sight. Ryo perishes the thought and thinks to himself that right now, he's Ryo. Amakawa Haruto is long dead. With that, he resolves to live through his life and be strong, tenacious. When the exam results came, everyone is shocked to see that Ryo placed first alongside Princess Christina. The other students could hardly believe this. How can a commoner like him rank alongside the kingdom's princess? Alphonse even accuses him of fraud, saying that he must have used some dirty trick. Ryo calmly defends himself, saying that he simply took the test. A friend of Princess Christina reprimands him for his baseless claims, and Princess Christina asserts that unproven allegations only serve to dishonor the Academy's dignity. Celia chimes in to add that this achievement is the result of Ryo's hard work. Alphonse won't have this and says that he can't accept it before storming off with his friends. Just as Ryo's about to thank the two girls for defending him, the princess's friend sharply informs him that she didn't intervene for his sake and that she won't rank lower than him next time. At Celia's lab after school, she congratulates Ryo for placing first in the end-of-term exams. She admits that she's worried about him because, after his good result, the students will surely double down in trying to find fault in him. Smiling, Ryo assures her that he's already used to it. He also learns that Celia's experienced the same kind of bullying. She just ignored it. When Ryo responds that he thought so, Celia defensively adds that in her case, she had friends. He says he'll be fine too, since he has Celia with him, which makes the girl all flustered. With that, he asks a favor from her. If ever he's in trouble, she should advise him as a friend and teacher. Celia enthusiastically agrees to this and even goes on to say that whenever he's about to cry from all the bullying, she'll take him to her bosom. Rio then replies that since she's small, she's perfect for him to cling to. This makes an all worked up Celia yell that she's still growing, but the two friends end up sharing a laugh. 5 years pass and Rio is now in 6th grade. An exhibition tournament between the Knights of the Realm will be held again that year. The representatives for the primary school division are Alphonse Rodan, Stuart Hyoguno, and Rio. Of course, everyone is surprised that a commoner from the slums was chosen. Hello classism, these brats old friend. The years did nothing to dull Alphonse's spoiled and petty nature, so he protests against Rio's inclusion, saying that it's a disgrace for someone as lowly as him to participate in a knightly tournament. The teacher, however, is firm that the lineup's already decided and no objection shall be entertained. That day at Celia's research lab, she mentions that if he does well in the tournament, the knights may scout him even before graduating. Rio tells her that he has no intention of becoming a knight. After graduation, he'll probably go on a journey, which makes Celia wonder if he plans to leave the country. To this, he admits that this country is difficult for him to live in. Celia offers him a job to work in her lab, saying that all sorts of things will go wrong without him around since it's so tidy when he cleans and he makes such excellent tea. He also reprimands her whenever she gets too caught up in her research. Rio just answers that sooner or later, she'll enter into marriage talks, so it wouldn't be good for her to have some unknown commoner in her lab. Celia confesses that she has no intention of being married for a long time before protesting against what she believes to be Rio thinking that she'll miss her chances of getting married. Rio simply answers that she looks so youthful and lovely, he's sure she'll be fine. Celia then concludes that he's saying she looks like a child, but he emphasizes that she's a charming woman, making said charming woman blush. She's honestly so into him, she can't even hide it. The topic then shifts to Rio's destination, and he tells her that he wants to go to his parents' homeland, the Yagumo region, which, according to Celia, is at the edge of the wilderness. The day of the tournament finally arrives. The first battle is immediately between Rio and Charles Arbor, the knight who tortured him back then. Charles still remembers him. After all, you probably don't just forget about an innocent young boy you've mercilessly beaten up, unless, you know, that's a regular Tuesday for you. Still, he shows no remorse for what he did. As for Rio, he coolly tells the knight, "I owe you a debt for your care of me back then. I was so very sorry I couldn't have been of more help." Their duel begins and Rio adopts his signature stance. Like the others, Charles is taken aback by the peculiar stance, but he wastes no time in attacking the boy. He doesn't hold back at all. He's swift, forceful, yet Rio parries all of his attacks with ease. Celia is shocked to see a knight going all out against a primary schooler, but Rio's no slouch either. The more Rio parries him, the more aggressive Charles gets, especially as he thinks back to getting demoted 5 years ago because of his inhumane practices against the boy. Alas, despite giving his all, Rio still wins against him in the end. Instead of a thundering round of applause, all Rio got was a soft rain of claps, as if the crowd wasn't pleased by his victory. Still, he graciously accepts the victory and takes his leave. After his humiliating defeat, Charles is getting plastered with the honorable ambassador of the Proxia Empire, who slyly consoles the knight by emphasizing that he simply let the child get the glory. Charles is pleased by the ambassador's reading of what happened and complains about Rio. He mentions the incident from 5 years ago, where he thought that the boy was involved in the princess's kidnapping. A flicker of recognition crosses the ambassador as he thinks back to the kidnapper being taken out of his dwelling. This time, he wears a more knowing look and continues drinking with Charles. The following day in the academy, an excited Celia is about to celebrate Rio's victory with him, but she stops in her tracks when she sees a girl shyly giving her star student a confession letter. The girl squeaks out that his performance yesterday was very dashing, and before Rio could get a word in, she runs away. Celia's absolutely shocked and perhaps even crushed to see this, and she can only look away, too stunned for words. Rio's everyday life at the academy is far from sunshine and rainbows. He is practically isolated from the other students, and in his 5 years there, he's only made one friend, who also happens to be his teacher. But in spite of how the world decides to view a commoner like him, Rio remains steadfast in his resolve to fully live his life with as much strength and tenacity as he could muster.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.